By the time I sat down in the corner and I couldn't bite it up into my mouth guard, I knew it was bad. I was thinking, you know, that's definitely broken, but it was just like, all right, finish your fight, we'll worry about it tomorrow, you know what I mean? It was a tomorrow problem.
That was the shot that rocked the challenger, who is now going to have to go to places he has never been.
Boxing's been my whole life since I can remember. I had my first fight at 8 years old, and I've just grinded and, you know, boxed my way through my life. You give this sport 100% of your life, and you're lucky to get 10% back.
I'm sacrificing everything for this sport. I still feel like I've got so much more to show. I don't feel like this is my best performance.
IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Jai Opetaia!
Sooner or later, every fighter faces the trenches, a crucible where resilience, grit, and character are tested. For those who emerge, their stories become legends of human endurance and triumph. Such was the fate of Jai Opetaia on the night he fought Mairis Briedis for the IBF and lineal cruiserweight titles.
A fight goes so fast, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's 12 rounds and stuff like that, but when you're in there, it's sort of all happening, and then after it, you know, it's just like, what just happened, you know? You're trying to remember what happened through the fight, and it's just glimpses, you know?
The bout, held on the Gold Coast on July 2nd, 2022, became not just a career-defining moment for Opetaia, but a testament to the indomitable human spirit, one forged by generations of fighters, with 4 generations of boxing lineage on his father's side and 3 on his mother's. Jai wasn't just bred to fight, he was born for it.
I come from a boxing family, so I'm a 4th generation on my father's side and a 3rd on my mum's. So, you know, I just grew up in the gym. I can't remember doing anything else, you know what I mean? I remember being a little kid swinging off the bags, and then, you know, we had to join into the kids' classes and do all the bodywork sparring and stuff like that. So it was just a part of my life. It was ingrained in me. You know, my grandfather's a massive, he's like my idol, you know what I mean? And he was a fighter, and I just wanted to be like him too.
Greatness is never easily attained. For the spectators watching that fateful night, it was impossible to fathom the depth of pain and suffering Opetaia would endure to be crowned world champion.
We believe that somewhere in round 2 or perhaps in round 3, with one of those uppercuts, that the damage began to your jaw. Do you know the specific punch?
Yeah, it was definitely uppercut. I remember it pretty clearly. Sort of, I don't remember what round, but I remember the sort of the angle he hit me on. I was like sort of leaning back like that, and just his uppercut, and it felt like his knuckle just landed right on the right spot, and it just sort of broke that left side straight away, and my jaw was sort of sitting funny, and and then it just got worse and worse throughout every round. But
his jaw had been shattered in 2 places, an injury so severe that his mouth hung open as blood poured freely in his mouth.
I think Jai's hurt his jaw. His teeth look a bit crushed there.
A mandibular angle fracture most commonly occurs just behind the last molar in the jaw. When this fracture occurs on both sides of the jaw, it's called a bilateral mandibular angle fracture, meaning the angle of the jaw is fractured near the last molars on both sides. Despite the agony, Opetaia pressed on, not only surviving but thriving, landing clean combinations and slowly taking control of the fight. He outboxed the reigning champion while concealing his injury, not only from the referee, but his own corner as well.
I was just thinking, I have to get this fight done. I have to finish this fight. You know, even when I first broke it in the 3rd round, I didn't tell my corner. Just wanted the nice, calm, just keep boxing. I knew it was broken because it was just kept moving around, but it is what it is. It just was a lot of pain and sacrifice to get to where I was. You know what I mean? So we just had to keep pushing. You know what I mean? It was just, the jaw was broken anyway, you know, so I could either quit and say, oh, you know, I broke my jaw, or I could just keep pushing until they stopped it. So they didn't stop it. I'm lucky they didn't call like, oh, you need to go see the doctor. You know what I mean? Because if the ref would have said you need to go see the doctor would have just waved it off. So I'm just lucky it sort of worked out the way we did. We kept pushing and, you know, we got the win. We done enough in the first couple of rounds, so.
Many believe the injury occurred in the 11th round, but his trainer Mark Wilson later revealed it happened in the second round, a testament to Opetaia's remarkable poker face and mental fortitude.
He broke it in the second round. He said the uppercut got him, but he didn't tell us till near the end there. But I think it was the 11th round where it really come to fore, where it really just opened up, and I don't know how we went back out there.
Mairis Briedis, a durable and seasoned champion who gave Alexander Usyk one of his toughest fights, soon recognised the extent of Opetaia's injury and began targeting his jaw with relentless uppercuts. Despite the excruciating pain, Opetaia instinctively kept his mouth open during the fight, a natural reaction to the injury that significantly increased the risk of further damage. This made him even more vulnerable to Briedis' relentless targeting. By the championship rounds, Briedis, probably aware that he may have been trailing on the scorecards, launched a desperate assault, landing vicious shots in an effort to turn the tide. But Opetaia weathered the storm, surviving to hear the final bout.
Victory.
When the judges' scorecards were read, the verdict was unanimous. Jai Opetaia had dethroned Briedis with scores of 116-112, 115-113, and 116-112, capturing the IBF and lineal world cruiserweight titles. The extent of Opetaia's injury was evident during his post-fight interview, where he struggled to form words through a gaping jaw that was barely intact. It was a difficult moment to watch, but underscored the immense price and sacrifice he paid for victory.
Jai, I don't know, do you want to try and talk? Because this is an incredible moment. You've just fulfilled your destiny. If you can speak.
I got it. Oh, no.
That might be the best we get from him.
Pain's the easy part, man, you know. It's a decision you can make in a split decision, but waking up every day and grinding every day for years on end, not getting anything in return, that's the hard part. Broken jaw, broken bones, that means nothing.
The journey, however, was far from over. The aftermath of the fight saw Opetaia endure a grueling recovery, requiring multiple surgeries to repair his broken jaw. As months turned into over a year of inactivity, speculation grew about his future. Would he recover fully? Could he return to the ring without the psychological scars of such a harrowing injury?
The doctors reckon my jaw, where the breaks are, it'll be actually stronger than, before I broke it. So we'll find out, eh? I've still got 2 plates on this side, 1 plate on this side. So I had bad infections with one of the plates. I had to take 1 out here. So I've only got 3, but I haven't had any issues with it, no problems. Just been training, doing my thing.
Well, they reckon that it heals stronger, so it's less likely that it's going to break ever again. Jeff Fennick and I were flying back from a show somewhere, and we bumped into the specialist who, I think the guy who did the surgery, and he was talking about it with us, and he said, once you have it, it's very unlikely you have it again. It was interesting. So I was talking to the doctor on that night of the fight, and because Jai had broken it on both sides, and he was explaining how that worked and what it meant. And I said, is that common when you break it on one side? Is it weaker on the other? He goes, well, I don't know. Usually if you break it on one side, you just stop doing what you're doing. And he didn't. He kept fighting and broke it on the other side.
His recovery process was extremely grueling. Doctors performed reconstructive surgery to stabilize his shattered jaw with plates and screws. Eating and speaking were significant challenges during this period. For weeks, Opetaia was restricted to a liquid diet, and every motion of his jaw carried the risk of further complications. Despite these obstacles, Opetaia remained focused. He approached rehabilitation with the same discipline that defined his performance in the ring.
It was honestly one of the hardest injuries to come back from, the 4 months of no chewing at all, 4 months of not being able to eat anything and, just living off soups. And I was living off 2-minute noodles crushed up, but it is what it is. It was a struggle that 4 months to get back to fight fit and stuff like that. But in saying that, it's, those things that don't break you, they make you.
Family and team support became vital pillars during his recovery. Yet this prolonged layoff came with its own issues. When Opetaia was preparing for his second title defense, a high-profile opportunity in Saudi Arabia presented him with a difficult dilemma. With Mairis Briedis sidelined due to injury, Opetaia chose to step in and face Ellis Zorro, seizing the opportunity for life-changing earnings. However, the IBF, which had already granted him an exception for his previous fight against Jordan Thompson, refused to allow back-to-back exemptions. The organisation demanded that his next fight be against Briedis. Rather than risk formal stripping, Opetaia vacated the title, prioritising his financial future for himself and his family over the belt. The decision highlighted the challenges fighters face in balancing career longevity, legacy, financial security, and championship obligations.
Well, they've really left me with no choice. You know what I mean? This is a massive card that I can't say no to. So they've stripped me, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? They can do what they want. I'll get the belts back.
Opetaia and Briedis, who were soon back in the ring for a rematch for the vacant IBF and ring belt, a fight many wondered if he could ever truly recover from. This time the stakes were higher. Opetaia once again found himself in the trenches, rocked by a headbutt and uppercut that resulted in a badly broken nose.
That second fight, you know, the preparation was all over the joint. You know, we had injuries before that, so I felt like I wasn't in that ring with a full bank like I usually am. You know what I mean? So I felt like I had to sort of play it a bit more safer because I felt like I hadn't ticked every box going into the ring. Does that make sense? So I felt like that's what was sort of why I was so, you know, picking my shots, taking my time at the start of the fight. I wasn't really going for it, but it is what it is. You know, we've learned, it's all progress, and we're just going to get better and better.
His breathing was compromised, yet he fought on, surviving the rally from Briedis in the later rounds to win a hard-fought decision and become a two-time world champion. Today, Jai Opetaia stands as one of the most exciting figures in boxing. His relentless pursuit of greatness and his ability to overcome unimaginable adversity have made him a symbol of ambition and passion for the sport. With unification on his mind, Opetaia is not just fighting for titles, but to etch his name in the annals of boxing history. For Jai Opetaia, the trenches are not a place of fear. They are where he thrives.
We're still aiming up, you know, we're far from finished. Yeah. You know, we still got more belts to collect and other divisions to conquer. So, you know, we still got a lot of hard work to do. You know, I don't want to talk like, you know, I'm happy from where I am and you know I'm settled. You know, we got a lot of hard work to do and a lot more climbing to do. So I'm strapping in. You know, I'm ready to level up.